The rain on the docking platform was artificial, generated by the orbital station's weather system, but it still carried that metallic tang rock had always associated with trouble. He adjusted the strap of his medcase and stepped forward, boots clanging against the steel walkway. A trio of technicians rushed past him, their voices sharp and hurried. Beyond the transparent panels, a ship floated in the docking bay, its hull scorched black, half of its starboard wing gone. He had read the report twice on his way here. An unknown alien craft had appeared in low Earth orbit, broadcasting a distress signal in a language even the station's translation cores had struggled to parse. Every second, the signal had grown weaker. Then it stopped altogether. Whoever was on board was dying. Rock's chest tightened as he approached the airlock. This wasn't supposed to be his assignment. He specialized in xenobiology research, not first contact under emergency conditions, but the roster had been scrambled. The other med officers were either off-station or unwilling to risk exposure to whatever unknown pathogen or environmental hazard might be lurking inside. The hatch released with a reluctant hiss. A cold rush of air rolled over him, carrying a faint, sweet-sour scent that didn't belong to any human atmosphere. The interior lighting flickered, revealing shadows that seemed to shift on their own. His eyes adjusted, and then he saw her. She was sitting against the far wall of the corridor, her back pressed to scorched plating, her breathing slow and uneven. Her skin shimmered faintly, a pale azure hue threaded with silver undertones. Long strands of hair, green like ocean kelp, clung to her face and shoulders. She was wearing what might once have been ceremonial armor, though it was now torn and scorched, revealing intricate markings along her sides. Her eyes opened as he stepped closer. For a moment, they locked on him with startling clarity. Pupils slit like a predator's, surrounded by irises that seemed to shift between violet and deep turquoise. "You're human." Her voice was soft but carried a resonance that made the hairs on his arms rise. "Yes," he said, keeping his tone steady. "I'm here to help you. Can you stand?" She tried. The movement sent a shudder through her frame, and she doubled over, clutching her midsection as if holding herself together. Rock dropped to one knee beside her, scanning her with the portable med scanner. The readings spiked erratically, then flatlined into static, as though the device couldn't fully process her biology. "I need to get you to the med bay," he said. "What's your name?" Her lips parted, but she hesitated. When she spoke, the name rolled from her tongue like a melody. "Jahaira." She studied his face as if weighing some private decision. "And you are?" "Rock, Xenobiology Division." Her gaze lingered on him, unreadable. "You shouldn't be here, Rock of Earth. My presence endangers you." He almost smiled. "That's usually my line to the patient." But there was no humor in her expression. She turned her head, scanning the corridor behind him as if expecting something to emerge from the shadows. "We have little time. This vessel is not safe." He glanced over his shoulder. The structural damage was severe. Half the walls bowed inward from an external blast, conduits hanging like exposed veins. There were no signs of other crew. "What happened?" Her jaw tightened. "An ambush. I escaped, but not unscarred." Her fingers tightened over her abdomen again, and he noticed a faint glow under her skin, pulsing in rhythm with her heartbeat. Rock activated the station comms. "Control, I'm bringing the survivor aboard. She's in critical condition." Static. No confirmation. He frowned. The blast shielding around the alien vessel might have been interfering with the signal. He slid an arm under her knees and another behind her back, lifting her easily despite the unexpected heat radiating from her body. She didn't protest, which worried him more than if she had fought him. The moment his hands touched her, the scanner lit up briefly, registering a cascade of energy surges through her system. By the time he stepped back onto the docking platform, 2 station security officers were waiting, weapons slung but not raised. Their eyes flicked between him and Jahaira, but they didn't question him. Maybe the sight of her, so clearly alien yet so fragile in that moment, silenced whatever protocols they might have recited. They moved quickly through the access corridor into the medbay. The room was bright, sterile, every surface gleaming under white light. Monitors flickered to life as he laid her gently on the diagnostic bed. She exhaled slowly, closing her eyes. Rock keyed in a command for the AI-assisted medscan, but once again the readings came back incomplete. "That's impossible," he muttered. "Even the Kalari scans worked last month, and their biology makes no sense either." "Your machines will not read me," Jahira murmured without opening her eyes. "I carry something they cannot know." He studied her more closely. Beneath her skin, faint patterns moved. Not tattoos, but living lines that seemed to flow with her pulse. "You're injured," he said. "But this isn't just trauma. There's something else." She opened her eyes again, locking them on his. The intensity of her gaze was almost physical. "You see too much, human." "I see someone who's dying," he replied. The corner of her mouth lifted in a humorless smirk. "Then you already see the end of this story." "Not if I can help it." For a long moment, they simply stared at one another. Then she turned her face toward the ceiling and said, almost to herself, "Perhaps it is fate that your kind was called." Before he could ask what she meant, an alarm blared softly in the background. Not loud enough to signal danger, but urgent enough to demand attention. The medbay display had finally produced a partial reading. Her vitals were dropping at an accelerating rate. Rock swallowed hard. Whatever was killing her, he had never seen it before. And something told him that if she died here, in this room, the repercussions would stretch far beyond the station. Rock's fingers flew across the console, bypassing the medbay's standard diagnostic protocols. If the AI couldn't read her biology, he would have to map it manually, molecule by molecule. A process that should take days, but she didn't have days. Every 30 seconds, her heartbeat dipped lower on the partial scan. Jahira shifted on the bed, her breathing uneven. "You will not save me with your machines. They are blind to the truth inside me." He didn't look up. "Then you'd better explain it. Because from where I'm standing, the truth looks like you bleeding out on my table." Her eyes softened for the briefest moment, but her voice remained steady. "What harms me is not injury. It is design. My people are born with a shield inside. A living barrier that attacks anything unworthy of touching the Queen's core." Rock paused, finally meeting her gaze. "And you're saying this barrier is killing you?" "It awakens when I am wounded," she replied. "It floods my blood with fire to destroy any invader. But the fire burns me too. Only the touch of one not of my kind can reach inside and calm it." He frowned, parsing her words. "So you're telling me you have a built-in immune system that sees your own body as a threat, and the only person who can fix it is me?" Her lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. "Not you in particular. Any human might suffice. But fate brought you here, Rock of Earth." He stepped closer to the bed, studying the faint glow radiating from her abdomen. Pulsed erratically now like a flickering beacon. The patterns under her skin had grown brighter, moving in chaotic swirls. "What happens if we don't act?" he asked. She didn't hesitate. "Within 2 Earth rotations, my heart will stop. 2 days, maybe less." Rock exhaled slowly, weighing the risk. He had no precedent for this, no manual, no training sim. Whatever this touch required, it would mean physical contact with an alien queen whose body contained a defense system capable of killing him instantly. One wrong move and both of them could be dead before he even realized he'd made it. He pulled on a pair of adaptive bioskin gloves from the supply drawer, the kind that could adjust to multiple species biochemistry. "All right, tell me exactly what I have to do." Jahira's eyes flicked to his hands. "Not with those. The shield will know they are false. It must feel the truth of skin." The gloves fell back into the drawer with a quiet snap. Rock's pulse quickened as he flexed his bare hands. "Where do I start?" She sat up slowly, wincing with the effort, and placed his right hand over the glowing part of her abdomen. Her skin was warmer than anything human, almost feverish, and there was a strange, steady vibration beneath it. "Do not press," she whispered. "Let it know you are here. Then follow its call." He tried to ignore the awareness creeping up his arm, a subtle hum that seemed to sync with his own heartbeat. It wasn't just heat. It was something alive, something aware of him. Suddenly, the medbay lights flickered, and the hum in his hand surged into a sharp pulse. Jahira's breath caught, her back arching slightly. "It sees you," she murmured. "Now, guide it." Before he could ask how, the medbay door hissed open. 2 station security officers strode in, their weapons slung but eyes suspicious. The taller one spoke first. "Dr. Rock, we need to speak with you outside. Controls picking up unidentified ships inbound." "Not now," Rock snapped, not removing his hand. "She's in the middle of treatment." The officer's gaze darted to the alien on the bed, then back to him. "Sir, protocol says." "Protocol doesn't matter if she dies," Rock cut in. Jahira's grip tightened on his wrist, her voice barely a whisper. "Do not leave me." He glanced at her, then back at the guards. "Give me 10 minutes. That's all I'm asking." The 2 exchanged a look but stepped back, one muttering something about reporting to command. The door slid shut again, and the room felt smaller, the air heavier. The glow under Jahira's skin was brighter now, almost blinding. Rock focused on matching his breathing to hers, letting the rhythm guide his movements. Slowly, the chaotic pulse beneath his palm began to steady, its once jagged pattern smoothing into something like a heartbeat. "You're doing it," she said, her voice trembling. "The fire, it fades." But the effort was draining her too. Sweat gathered along her hairline, and her grip on his wrist weakened. Rock's own vision swam briefly, the hum in his hand spreading through his entire arm and into his chest. It wasn't just contact anymore, it was a connection. A sharp chime broke the moment. The medbay console flashed a warning. "External breach detected." Rock's eyes darted to the display, where the station's sensors showed 3 small craft approaching at high speed. No transponders, no identification. Jahira's expression hardened. "They've found me. Friends of yours. Assassins." Rock's stomach nodded. "Of course." The glow beneath his hand pulsed faster again, reacting to her fear. "Stay with me," he urged, forcing his focus back to the connection. "If they're coming, we finish this before they get here." She nodded faintly, her gaze locking on his as though anchoring herself. "Do not stop, no matter what." Minutes stretched into something unmeasurable. Outside, the distant thud of the station's defensive cannons rattled the walls. Inside, Rock felt the strange heat in Jahira's body shift, concentrating beneath his palm, then flowing upward like a rising tide. And then it happened. The vibration vanished, replaced by a deep, resonant stillness. Jahira's breath steadied, her skin's glow dimming to a soft, healthy shimmer. The patterns beneath her skin settled into graceful curves instead of frantic swirls. "It is done," she whispered, her voice almost too soft to hear. Rock withdrew his hand slowly, his skin tingling as though it had been holding static for hours. The medbay console, for the first time since she arrived, showed stable vitals. But before relief could settle in, the station shuddered violently, the lights flickering again. A voice boomed over the comms. "Docking Bay 2 breached. All personnel to defensive positions." Jahira swung her legs over the side of the bed, swaying but refusing to collapse. "We must go, Rock of Earth. If they capture me now, your station will burn." He grabbed his med case, slinging it over his shoulder. "Where to?" She fixed him with a steady look. "Somewhere they will not think to look, but you must trust me completely." Another shudder ran through the floor, followed by the distant sound of metal tearing. Rock took one last glance at the console's stable readings. She was alive for now. "Lead the way," he said, and without another word they ran. The corridor lights strobed red as emergency shutters slammed shut one by one, sealing off sections of the station. Rock followed close behind Jahira, his boots pounding the metal floor in sync with the low, rhythmic hum of the alarm. The air was thick with the smell of scorched wiring, each breath tasting faintly of ozone. She moved quickly despite her recent collapse, her bare feet whispering against the decking, her green hair trailing like a comet's tail in the dim light. Rock's training told him to get her to a secure med cell, but something in her manner, a sharp, almost instinctive awareness of the station's layout, kept him from suggesting it. She knew exactly where she was going. Behind them, a sharp metallic screech echoed through the hall. Not the orderly clang of security doors, but the chaotic tearing of something forcing its way through. Rock didn't have to look to know their pursuers were already inside. They turned into a narrow maintenance passage. The walls were close enough that Rock's shoulders brushed both sides. "Where are we headed?" he asked, his voice low. "To the core junction," she replied without looking back. "From there, I can hide my signature." "Signature? The mark your machines cannot read," she said. "It is how they found me so quickly." A sudden burst of light flashed down the corridor behind them, followed by the snap crack of a weapon discharging. Rock flinched as a bolt of searing energy grazed the wall inches from his head, the heat blooming against his skin. Jahaira grabbed his hand without breaking stride, pulling him around a bend. The contact was brief, but even now, in the middle of a chase, the strange connection from the medbay flared again. That subtle hum in his palm, an echo of her pulse. They burst into a service hub filled with towering conduits and humming energy lines. The noise was overwhelming, a deep bass thrum that rattled the bones. Jahaira darted between the conduits, stopping at a thick panel near the far wall. Her fingers brushed its surface, and the metal shifted, rippling like liquid before opening into a narrow cavity. "Inside," she said. Rock hesitated. The space was barely wide enough for the two of them, and the heat from the conduits made the air heavy and oppressive. But the sounds of pursuit were closing in. Without another word, he squeezed inside, and she followed, sealing the panel behind them. Darkness swallowed them, save for the faint glow from her skin. In the cramped space, he could feel her breath, steady but quick. Outside, muffled footsteps pounded past, accompanied by guttural, inhuman voices. Rock strained to make out words, but the language was unlike anything in the station's databanks. When the footsteps faded, he let out a slow breath. "So, assassins," she nodded. "Sent by the consortium. They believe my death will end the alliance my people seek with yours. And you? I seek more than an alliance. I seek trust, but there are those who fear it." Her voice was calm, but Rock caught the tremor beneath it. Why risk coming here at all? Because the alternative was surrender. She met his gaze in the dim light. "And I do not surrender." Before he could respond, the entire station jolted violently, throwing him against the wall. Somewhere above, metal screamed and something massive struck the hull. The conduits around them flickered, and the heat in the small space surged. "They're boarding in force," Rock said. Jahaira's eyes narrowed. "Then we must move before they lock down the core." The hidden panel rippled open again, and they slipped out into the larger service hub. The main access ladder to the core junction was 3 decks down, but the shaft was exposed, wide, vertical, and impossible to cross without being seen if anyone was above. Rock glanced upward. "If they're already in the core." "They will be," she said, stepping toward the ladder. "But we have something they cannot stop." "What's that?" She glanced back, the faint shimmer of a smile on her lips. "You." They climbed quickly, the rungs hot beneath their hands. By the time they reached the junction level, Rock's muscles burned, sweat running down his spine. The core chamber loomed ahead, its massive cylindrical structure pulsing with the energy that kept the station alive. But they weren't alone. 3 figures stood between them and the main console, tall, armored, their faces hidden behind opaque helmets. Each held a weapon shaped like a curved blade fused with a rifle, and each turned toward Rock and Jahaira in eerie unison. Jahaira's voice dropped to a whisper. "Do not touch them. Their armor is laced with the same venom that nearly killed me." "Great," Rock muttered. The nearest figure moved first, lunging toward them. Rock didn't think. He grabbed a conduit coupling from the floor and swung hard, the improvised weapon sparking against the assassin's arm. The blow staggered the figure, but didn't drop it. Jahaira darted past him with a speed that was almost unnatural, her hands weaving through a series of motions that made the air shimmer. A pulse of light exploded outward, throwing two of the attackers backward. The third raised its weapon, but Rock was already moving, slamming into its shoulder first and sending them both to the floor. The impact knocked the wind from his chest, but adrenaline drove him. He wrestled the weapon from the attacker's grip, tossing it aside before scrambling to his feet. Jahaira was already at the console, her fingers dancing over alien glyphs projected in midair. The core's energy pulsed faster, the hum rising in pitch until it was almost unbearable. The remaining assassins struggled to their feet, but the moment Jahaira pressed her palm to the console, a surge of light swept through the chamber. The assassins froze, their armor locking rigid, then collapsed as if their strings had been cut. The air smelled faintly of ozone and scorched metal. Jahaira swayed, catching herself on the console. Rock rushed to her side. "What did you do?" "I severed their link to the ship," she said, her voice strained. "They cannot track me now, but the effect will not last." Above them, the sound of weapons fire rattled through the station. Rock could tell from the rhythm that the fight wasn't going well for the station's defenders. "We need to get you off this station," he said. Her eyes met his, and in them he saw no fear, only a quiet resolve. "Then you must follow me into the dark rock of Earth. There is no going back." Another tremor shook the deck, and for the first time, he realized she might not just be fighting for her own survival. Whatever she carried, it was worth killing for, and maybe worth dying for. He didn't hesitate. "Lead the way." They slipped into a service hatch beside the core, the hum of the energy chamber fading as they descended into the unlit depths of the station. The hatch closed above them, sealing off the last traces of light. Rock's boots echoed against the narrow metal steps as they descended into the station's underbelly, the air growing cooler with every meter. The hum of the core faded into silence, replaced by the distant groan of stressed hull plating. Somewhere far above, the battle still raged, but here the only sound was their breathing. Jahaira moved with steady purpose, her glowing skin casting soft light over the cramped passage. "The lower docks will still have a shuttle," she said quietly, her voice almost swallowed by the dark. "If we reach it before they do, we have a chance." "A chance for what?" Rock asked, his voice bouncing off the walls. "To survive," she said, then after a pause, "and to finish what I came here for." He could have pressed her, demanded more than that vague answer, but the weight in her tone stopped him. There wasn't time for a debate. The steps ended abruptly at a narrow platform overlooking a maintenance rail. Below, a faint strip of yellow light marked the track's path into the darkness. Rock crouched and examined the control panel. "We can ride the maintenance cart, but it's old tech. No shields, no weapons." "Then we will be fast," Jahaira replied. The cart's systems hummed to life under his touch, its small thrusters igniting with a muffled roar. They stepped aboard, and the moment the clamps released, the vehicle shot forward, wind rushing past their faces as they plunged deeper into the station's lower levels. For a few minutes, there was nothing but the steady vibration of the track beneath them. Rock let his gaze drift to her, noting how her posture remained perfectly balanced despite the speed, her eyes fixed on the darkness ahead. She looked stronger now, the weakness from earlier replaced by something fierce, almost regal. Then, from behind, came the faint whine of an engine. Rock twisted around. A smaller, sleeker craft was racing down the rail after them, its sharp frame glinting in the dim light. "They found us," he said. Jahaira didn't look back. "How fast can this cart go?" "Not fast enough." "Then hold on." She stepped to the front of the cart, kneeling low and pressing her palm to the metal frame. The glow beneath her skin spread into the vehicle, threading through its circuits. The thrusters roared louder, the cart surging forward with a burst of speed Rock hadn't thought possible from something this old. The pursuing craft fell back, but not far enough. A sharp flash cut through the darkness, weapons fire. A bolt struck the rail just ahead, sending a spray of molten sparks into their path. Rock swerved the cart at the last moment, the impact scorching the side but keeping them on course. "Tell me you've got another trick," he said. "Just one." She closed her eyes, her body tensing as if bracing against some unseen force. The glow in her hands brightened until it was almost blinding, then pulsed outward in a wave. The lights in the tunnel flickered and died, plunging them into total darkness. The pursuing craft's engine faltered, its hum breaking into a sputter before cutting out entirely. They sped ahead in silence, the only illumination coming from her faintly glowing form. Minutes later, the tunnel widened into a cavernous docking bay. The maintenance cart slowed to a crawl, coasting toward the far side where a single shuttle rested on its cradle. The vessel was small, clearly designed for short-range runs, but it was intact. Rock jumped from the cart and ran to the docking clamps, his hands flying over the release mechanisms. Jahaira followed, scanning the shadows of the bay. "They will know we are here," she said. "Then let's not keep them waiting." The clamps released with a hiss, and they scrambled aboard. Rock moved to the pilot's chair, powering up the engines. The shuttle's systems responded sluggishly at first, but the moment Jahaira placed her hand on the console, they sprang to life as if eager to please her. "You've done this before," he said. Her lips curved faintly. "More times than you can imagine." The shuttle lifted from the cradle, hovering for a moment before angling toward the bay doors. The heavy blast shields began to grind open, revealing the black expanse of space beyond. Then the bay lights flared bright, too bright. Rock's instincts screamed a warning. He turned to see three figures step from the shadows, the same armored assassins from the core chamber. These were different, though faster, heavier, their armor etched with red markings that glowed like embers. "Sit tight," Rock said, reaching for the shuttle's weapons controls. "They are here for me, not you," Jahaira replied. "If I face them, you can get away." "That's not happening," he said flatly. The assassins raised their weapons and Rock fired. The shuttle's guns spat bolts of energy, forcing the attackers to scatter. One darted toward the shuttle, leaping onto the hull with a clang that rattled the cabin. Jahaira rose, stepping toward the airlock. "What are you doing?" he demanded. "Ending this." Before he could stop her, she cycled the lock and stepped out onto the hull. Through the cockpit glass, Rock saw her move with impossible speed, her body a blur of light and shadow. She dodged a slash from the assassin's blade, then struck, her hand glowing as it connected with their chest. The armor convulsed, light sparking through its seams before the figure crumpled. Another assassin leapt onto the shuttle. Swinging their weapon in a brutal arc, Rock took the shuttle higher, trying to throw them off balance, but Jahaira was already there, catching the blade in one hand and driving her other palm into the attacker's helm. They went limp instantly. The last assassin hesitated, then turned to flee back toward the bay. Jahaira didn't give them the chance. A final surge of light erupted from her, racing across the shuttle and into the bay floor. The fleeing figure collapsed before they could take another step. She stepped back into the cabin, her breathing heavy but controlled. "We must go now." The bay doors were almost fully open. Rock slammed the throttle forward, the shuttle shooting into the void. Stars streaked past as the station fell away behind them. For a long moment, neither spoke. Rock kept his eyes on the instruments, adjusting their trajectory toward the safety of open space. Finally, he said, "You saved us back there." Her gaze met his, steady and unflinching. "No, we saved each other." He thought of the moment in the medbay, the strange bond that had formed between them. It still lingered, an undercurrent beneath his skin, a quiet echo of her presence. "Where now?" he asked. "There is a place your maps do not show," she said. "A world hidden in the folds between your stars. If we reach it, I can finish what I began." "And what is that exactly?" Her eyes softened, but her answer carried the weight of something vast. "A future where our people stand together, not apart. Where no one must bleed alone." He let out a slow breath, nodding. "Then let's get you there." As the shuttle slipped deeper into the dark, a faint shimmer appeared on his right hand, a mark glowing softly beneath the skin. It pulsed in time with his heartbeat, and for a moment he could feel her pulse within it too. Jahaira noticed, her expression unreadable. "The bond is complete," she said quietly. You are part of my people now, whether you wish it or not. He stared at the mark, feeling the weight of her words. Guess I'd better start getting used to it. The stars stretched before them, endless and silent, the future uncertain. But in that moment, with the hum of the engines and her quiet presence beside him, Rock knew one thing for certain. Whatever came next, they would face it together. And somewhere far behind, in the shadows of the drifting station, a single dormant assassin's visor flickered back to life.